much better. I have to use 2 different versions of XSplit because on Chibi PC here, for whatever reason, the newer versions just refuse to work. They'll crash after a couple minutes. The interface is a little bit different between this and my other systems. Let me actually close my closet real quick. Alright, and then let's tweet out that we're live. Excuse me. I'm having a surge right now. Pretty darn good. And what we're going to be doing today is I have a bunch of tools, software tools, that I use when doing PC repair, PC building, for diagnostics, benchmarking, stress testing, just information tools, all that sort of stuff. And I will be I need to update those because I'm rebuilding a number of my systems or reinstalling Windows 10. Like my HTPC finally got on Windows 10 instead of Windows 8. And I need some tools I need to update my tools. They're many months out of date. It looks like the last time these were updated, we're looking at either April or some of them would have been in October. So it's quite a bit out of date, and that's causing issues since I'm on the latest build of Windows 10. A lot of them will ask to update, but since they're all copied onto flash drives and or other devices like that, there's no point in updating that specific device. I need to update what's on my server. That way I'll copy it over to all my other devices, and could be good to go. I'll at least be more updated. Because I know some of the hardware out there does not show up on, like, say, CPU-Z. I don't think we'll read 2nd gen Ryzen right now. Let me just get this tweet sent out. And I have to do this anyway, so I thought I would just stream it. All of this eventually go up on my YouTube channel as well. But I thought it would, since it was New Year's Day, some people might be free. And, oh, jeez. What did I... All right. Throw it up on Instagram in a bit here. All right. So how this is going to work, I'm sitting in front of my PC right now. We got hopefully the Yeti Pro on my boom arm. It's sounding pretty good. It's been a nice upgrade. Nice and maneuverable. I got it on a side desk here, so even if I hit my main desk or type, you shouldn't be able to hear it at all, or very, very little. If we go over to my other tab here, so right over here, you can see this is my tools folder. If you see the .sync, it's actually being synced by Resilio Sync between a bunch of computers. when I use it on those computers, it is indeed synced over. So if I update this folder, it'll update on all my systems. However, more often than not, I'm using this on an external SSD, or, you know, the flash drives like these guys here, which are my MX Technologies SLC drives that I overwrite and put OSs on and stuff like that very often. So those won't get updated unless I manually copy it over. And that's why I don't let them, like, if it's like, oh, newer version, you want to update, there's no point. I'd rather consistently use the older version until I take time and update, you know, also just in case some of the newer versions have issues, since I do repair as my job, and that it's also a hobby, and I build systems fairly regularly here. I guess I have this sorted. Let's see if I can make this full screen. If we go over to, there we go. Oh, hey, look at that. I actually know what I'm doing. Now, it might look like I do, but I really don't. So the other thing I did pick up recently, because I do plan to get on back into streaming more right now, is I do have a Stream Deck Mini. Picked that up recently. Haven't had time to really get it set up yet. Also, this is running that older version of XSplit, like I stated earlier, and I don't know how compatible it'll be. So I'm kind of waiting until Anthrax 9 is done and my main desktop is here, so I can just go straight to the newest XSplit. So there should be no compatibility issues. And lately it's actually been looking like I've been getting more hits over on Instagram than here. So I need to grab a picture here. We'll get it tweeted out. Or let's get, I want to get a quick how do I pause the stream? I don't use Twitch on my phone ever. How do I pause the stream? I don't use Twitch on my phone ever. There we go. All right. Let me edit this guy real quick here. Nope, Sprecher is what? Really? It's probably really not fun right now. Hopefully I'm looking decent. Don't have great lighting right now, so it's probably pretty pixely when I'm huge like this. But we got the 4K webcam. The audio should be pretty darn good. I've running 6,000 between the audio and the video, so should be about as high as quality as I can go with my, being that I'm not an affiliate or anything like that. Doubt I'll ever be, but trash that. Who to trash? Twitch. I updated this information. Why does it still say RTX Live Unboxing even though I changed the title? Anybody got ideas here? Yeah, it just says RTX Live Unboxing still. Update information. Interesting. All right. Well, Yeah, I have no idea why it still says RTX Live Unboxing. Yeah, I have it changed on my end to PC Repair Software and You. Definitely says that on my end. Pause that. Here we go. It does. Okay, so that's very, very weird that it's not updated in the mobile app, but it is updated in. That's very weird. Let me take. Screenshot real quick. Checkbox. All right, guys. So, let's close this shit. Sorry, I haven't streamed in such a long time that usually when I stream even once a week, I have this stuff down pat and have my order of operations in order, which is kind of, I guess, kind of funny to say that. Where did that save? Where did that save? Oh. This is totally fun, I bet. I should have had this all prepped. Alright. So, I'll get that going out shortly here. We have... Ooh, come on, copy. Sometimes when you want simple things to be done, they don't want to be done simply. Of course, it's logged me out of Instagram. Don't use Instagram for a day and it logs me out. Something's up with my account there. Or maybe 2 days or whatever, but haven't used it. And then I need two-step. My gosh. Seriously though, it just logs me out when I don't use it for a couple days. I have to fully re-authenticate and stuff. That was a notification you just heard on oh my gosh. Now it's auto-correcting a URL as I'm typing it. Why is it so potato? All right. All right, so we're all sent out now. Can put my phone on my charger. All right, so back to it here. Sorry about that. We have Prof here again. You can find me at TheProfosist on Twitter and Instagram, or the website at Tech Exchange The website is the-tech-exchange.com. If you ever seen our short links, it's just text.cx / Twitch for our Twitch here. So what we're going to be doing is I have a folder here of all of my tools. We're going to use, we got our Firefox over on my left monitor right over here. So if you see me looking over there, that's because I have a portrait monitor to my left, and that's where I have my web browser up. So what we have over here is, this is my folder of tools. I have them split out into, instead they used to just be straight full, all in one folder. It gets confusing because you can't find what you need, and I have enough stuff that it's nice to split it out. Sometimes I forget where I put it though, so I have to remember. I try to make it make sense though. So virus cleanup, we got stuff like, auto runs. That's a tool directly from Microsoft. They can use to figure out what's automatically running. Malwarebytes, I keep the installers on here locally. You can also use Ninite to get that. Then I have Malwarebytes anti-rootkit, which is a nice tool. Now MBAM can also do mbar. There's a checkbox to enable searching when you use it. I have adware cleaner for Malwarebytes as well. That's a very nice tool to use. A lot of that stuff has been put into Malwarebytes, but I do, like if I'm cleaning up a computer that's pretty heavily infected, it's nice to use that. Then we have KVRT, which is just Kaspersky virus removal tool. It's their free one. If I recall, Norton also has a free one. A lot of the antivirus companies have a free one that you can use. It will not automatically run. It will not even be installed in the system, but a lot of times what it will let you do is have enough to get like a full antivirus installed on there to clean it up. So that's why they give it away for free. Then under utilities here, 7-zip, I believe these are these are extracted versions. Then I also have installers for the latest version. Those will need to be updated. I believe we're on 1805 right now. Interesting thing with that is if you're in a software white hat hacker, stuff like 7-zip, VLC, the EU, if you find vulnerabilities in there, the EU is willing to pay you since they use that on their systems. And here, image burn, that's the latest version. They've had no need to update image burn forever because it just works. It even does Blu-rays. I don't think it's aware of 4K Blu-rays, but how many people really burn images of those? Though I think it just does use the quad layer Blu-ray discs. It's the formatting that's different. ITMS scrubber, that's for personal use, to be able to use my iTunes stuff on other devices without issues. NT Light, this is, if I recall, for modifying. Let's open this up really quick. Some of this stuff in these utilities is real specific. Okay, NT Light is, I'm trying to remember the name of the Windows XP version, but it's for modifying a Windows image before install. So you could, if you wanted to, and I've had to do this, integrate stuff like RAID drivers, NVMe drivers, USB 3.0. That's a huge thing. If you're using something prior to Windows 8 that doesn't have native USB 3 support, stuff like that you can build right in the image, or you can make it so that parts of it are missing. Like, say if you don't need a certain thing, you can just remove it from the image. And the NT Lite it does it for any of the Windows NT operating systems. So you're looking at Vista and newer, I believe it covers. For sure does 7, which is what I believe I last used it for. Test disk, that is a nice thing for working on hard drives. It can do stuff like say if for some reason you happen to accidentally delete a partition. As long as you haven't touched it, you can bring it back with that very, very straightforward and simply. Like I said, utilities in here are very sort of like niche. I know specifically, or even off the top of my head, what I need, and it's nice to just have these on here. Waifu 2X is another utility. I use this very, very, very regularly. It upscales you can upscale photos using, I even have a shortcut in my start menu to this folder, or to the exe in this folder. Specifically, I have the Cafe version, which uses NVIDIA's, Cafe is done by NVIDIA. It's their neural network. You can also just use CUDA if you don't want to sign up as a developer and get the Cafe parts, the CUDNN that allows the Cafe bit. Really super nice if you need to upscale small photos and make them big. I think the reason it's called Waifu 2X is because you can take like small little thumbnails and make them wallpapers, for anime stuff or screenshots. Back in the day, screenshots for DVDs are only 480p. And even if you think about, say, if you're cropping even a 1080p Blu-ray, that's not that many pixels. If you want to make it as part of a background or something like that. I use it for album art. It's very good at doing that. It's a very nice upscaler. Not great for everything, but it's a very universal device. Then we have Windows Live Mail Import Export. This once again has to do with my job. People use Windows Live Mail, as atrocious as that program is. They still use it and they still want to use it. So there's import export tools that allows you to import Windows Live Mail, which there's 2011 and 2012. Those are both, 2011 was the Windows 7 one included in Windows Live Essentials. Then there's Windows Live Essentials 2012. And before that, in Windows Vista, there was Windows Mail. This does also cover that. Turns out, normally if it works, you can export contacts, and the folder structure can just be imported straight into Thunderbird, because most people don't want to buy full Outlook, and Outlook gets kind of messy because the easiest way to do it, because it uses a local Exchange server, if I recall, so you have to have a copy of Outlook on the computer. So you'd buy a copy, install it on your old computer, export from Windows Live Mail to Outlook on the old computer, then export from Outlook, install Outlook on the new computer, and import. Complete pain in the ass. Thunderbird, it's at least free, and because people don't want to pay a lot of times to get that. Import export tools will allow you to just grab the folders and bring them into Thunderbird. Live Contacts View, what that is it's related to this as well, because Windows Mail, Windows Live Mail save your contacts that are in the program. A lot of times they will just use the Windows contacts, which is in your user's contacts folder. But if they save them just in Windows Live Mail, you're looking at getting that out without having the computer booting is a pain in the ass. This Windows Live Contacts View utility, which will not need to be updated because it is super old. Same with the import export tools. You can go in there and they're stored actually just as they would be if you used Windows Live Messenger, also known as MSN Messenger. Now, it is a complete pain in the butt because the categories are not assigned. So you have to assign those on export and then assign them on import. And you really got to pay attention because Windows Live Mail does not save things in the correct categories and stuff like that, or the correct columns, or the person might have not done it correctly. So some may throw you off. So you have to kind of go through it one by one, make sure it matches up, and make note of some things. But at least you can do it, which is the important thing. You want to make your customers happy. All right. So an Aqua key test. This is awesome. Technically, it's Aquas, like apostrophe S. This lets you test keyboards. It'll even show you the key map. Can I make you guys see this? No. What if I put you over here? No. All right. It just shows a little keyboard guy. Here you go. Should be able to see this now. No. Aqua's key test. There you go. Looks like that. I'll kind of leave this tab open so I can kind of show you what I'm working with here. Just like this, and then when you press a key, if I go over here, it actually shows you the key code. So if you have some stuff where it's like Mac and you're using it on Windows, you can remap stuff. Also F1 through 13 through 24 will show up, not on the actual key thing here, but as a key code, so you can rebind those so you know what to use for auto hotkey, stuff like that. This is great if you're building keyboards, or say somebody says a key's not working on their keyboard. You can test it, and a lot of times you'll see a whole row or column out. So let's get back working up from here. We got tune up, and we actually need to update the virus cleanup stuff. So what we're going to do is go back to Edge here, and we want there we go, Malwarebytes anti-malware, and bam, download. And as a heads up, Malwarebytes completely free. The stuff that isn't free is real-time scanner. Even enabling the rootkit in Malwarebytes is free. But I really do recommend it, especially if you run it and it finds something. Buy it. I have some stuff from back when it was you bought it for one computer for a lifetime. Now it's 3 computers for a year for $30 to $40 generally. Still worth it in my opinion. This will. Ooh, we need Malwarebytes for Mac too. We'll get that because that's in my Mac cleanup folder. It's do this automatically. It's worth it. This Malwarebytes will generally keep your computer clean of the more annoying stuff. So adware, malware, potentially wanted programs, that sort of stuff, which is the stuff that you actually notice while using your computer. Inherently, viruses don't want to be known because they're taking advantage of your system somehow. So they're going to be pretty stealth. And if you have a legitimate virus and a legitimate infection, like it may not even go noticed until you really dig into it. But stuff like fake antiviruses, fake tune-ups, and I know a lot of you guys are good for that, but you know, if you're cleaning up somebody else's computer, or a lot of times you're getting a legitimate piece of software and the installer from the downloader site wants to install this crap with it, this will either prevent it outright or remove it, once it gets installed. So I have my downloads folder. It's off screen here just because you don't need to see everything else that's in there. But we're grabbing the Malwarebytes installer. Now also up here I have Mac cleanup tools. And we need to do old. I can't type apparently today. Oh, yeah, remember to copy and paste, not drag. So we got that virus cleanup. We also need to hit. Here we go. Adware cleaner, download free. We're looking for that as well. And like say here as an example, I was running Adware cleaner 7.0.8. The version that downloaded, you might not be able to see it down here, but it is 7.2.6. Sure, I didn't see it in chat. Sorry, my chat's on another screen here. I don't know how long ago that was, Zion 19, but I can try and help you and answer your questions. I regularly help people, even people who are rather experienced, pick out PC parts and troubleshoot stuff. So Let me know what it is I can help you with. Sorry I didn't see you sooner there. I wish I could set an alert. I probably can. You could probably do all these things. I just don't stream that often, so I don't have it set up. So we got the new adware cleaner. Delete the old adware cleaner. Put in the new adware cleaner. Now we're looking for Malwarebytes anti-root kit. MBAR. Here you go. And it says, at least the one I just downloaded from them is 1.10.3.1001, which is the same as I have. If we manually download this as well, it wants to download the same one. So that's not super important. Now with Malwarebytes anti-root kit, you can see in here, we're going to run it. I will switch screens here. Oh, we got to change. Here we go. So that you guys can see this here. There is so if we go previous, when you start up, it looks like this. So what we're going to do, just so that everybody has updated definitions, since these were last updated in March, is hit update. Now, I don't need to scan, so we're just going to hit next, and when it says scan, we're just going to close it out. Now, if I open it up again, we should be able to hit next, and if you look, it's 2019-1-2. So the databases are updated, and why that's important is one of the best ways to clean up computers is to not connect to the internet. So if you have all this stuff installable locally and is up to date as it can be on the installer file or the files themselves, the best off you'll be, so that you can run it without connecting the internet. Now we also need auto runs. Like I said, auto runs is a Microsoft tool. It's hard to tell when it's updated and when it's not updated, so I think I have multiple versions kicking around. See, simply auto runs, and it shows the currently configured auto start applications as well as a full list of registry file and system locations for auto start configuration. So there are many, it's right here. There are many places where you can do the auto run. There's your startup list. There are services. There are I can't remember, tasks, startup tasks. There are also the ghetto way of doing it, if you want to use that term, if you don't mind me using that term, is in your start menu folder, there's a startup folder in there. You just pop your shortcut in there and it'll start with the computer every time. So this kind of manages all that. And there are other programs like CCleaner does have some of this stuff in there, but it's never bad to have multiple tools that do the same thing, as long as they're not the exact same. Something like auto runs, being that's directly from Microsoft and stuff like that, it's a nice tool to use. It's a little bit tougher, but it's a nice tool to use when your other tools don't work. So new, old. Normally I keep old installers like Malwarebytes, because sometimes, especially when you go back to the 2 to 3, they work a bit differently. So if you have an older computer, in this case, auto runs and auto MSC used to be separate programs, and now they're in the same thing. So we'll keep that old one just in case, but these are the updated auto runs files. Under install, I have finding discount installer. This is for a very specific piece of adware that will replace all the ads in your system and add more. Oh, and then Hitman Pro. This one, you only get a trial. I'm sure you can work around that somehow, registry edit, that sort of thing, if you need to run it multiple times on a computer. But it's a very useful. There are times when this is the only antivirus that has gotten stuff off. Another one is super anti-spyware is pretty good as well. I know it sounds, it's anti-spyware. Here we go. It's also on 99 is super anti-spyware. So we want the free edition. Now, as you can see, not all of these have versioning on them. Let's go back to auto runs here. So my old auto runs files, if we look at the details, were 13.30. If we look at the new ones, I think it was just 32-bit here. Also, if you notice, there's a 32-bit and a 64-bit. This is 13.93. So we'll do 13.30. And we'll just name the whole folder 13.93. There we go. If you notice, I manually named Malwarebytes. So Adware Cleaner has it already on there. Hitman Pro, I added that. Clear. Refresh. Like in super anti-spyware does not have a if I copy it in here, you'll see what I mean. It does not have a version on it. So we're gonna go properties, details. It's 8.00.1026. So I usually just add I'm bad with the number row without .1026. There we go. I'm also going to name this in my downloads because I keep all of my downloads for archival purposes in case I ever need to go back. We do need the new Hitman Pro though. It's still 3.8. That's what I have, but I may, let's see here. Beta. 3.7 is available. We'll grab both of them. Might as well. Oh, the beta is older than the home use one. Sure. Sure. Here, I'll show you another thing that happens that I don't like. And this is just for me keeping my files intact. So if we switch over to, so you can see the folder bigger here. Hitman Pro comes as Hitman Pro and then Hitman Pro 64. I added underscore x86. Forgot the X there, x86, and then underscore 3. I think I did a dash before. 3.8. I just like having 64 and 32 specifically defined, not having one and then one 64-bit. This is all personal stuff, but kind of going through what I get. I'll have a summary of all this at the end. Doesn't look like we ever heard back from the Zion 19. We got another viewer in here though. So we're done with the virus. Oh no, KVRT. Totally forgot. Oh, and there's also excuse me. See, there you can tell. Oh, you're not seeing it. Here's Kaspersky virus removal tool. What I was going to say is, you notice when I download this as well, it does not have a version on it, which is annoying. So I'm gonna have to name that. Let's take a peek here. This guy says it is 15.0.22. We have 15.0.19. And that's why I name my files, so I know which version I have, and I don't have to always right-click to find out. I really wish they should just name. I think they do it for distribution of files, because that way they just link this download thing to just kvrt.exe, not a specific version. So they just have to update the file, and it updates the link. I think that's kind of a cheap way of doing it, but what do I know? So then there's also Norton Power Eraser. NP is the short version for that. Download. Once again, not one that's named, because why would it be named? Naming things is too hard, apparently. Let's tweet out or retweet my stuff here. All right. NP has to be installed, annoyingly, from what I recall. Let's double check, though. Accept. Oh, it does not. All right, so we can just make I can just pop it right in here. It says right at the bottom. See, they actually put the versioning and the date at the bottom of it. They just don't actually name the dang file. Pop it right in our folder over here, NPE. I'm trying to think of other ones off the top of my head. I think pretty much every one of the companies has an AV. These are the ones I very frequently use. Mostly it's going to be Malwarebytes, Adware Cleaner, Malwarebytes, NPE and KVRT will get some nasty stuff off. They're like Trojans and stuff like that. Autoruns is great just to, I don't know if I really want that in virus cleanup per se, because it's more of a tune-up we're going to put it in instead. There we go. Because it's mostly just startup items. It's not really for removing viruses. You can remove the startup of viruses with autoruns, but it doesn't actually remove the viruses themselves. But sometimes removing the startup is enough to be able to get in there and clean them up. So utilities, we saw it earlier. I need to grab 7-zip. Like I said, horrible with numbers and apparently letters. Zup. Why can't I? Come on. I'm literally in between the two letters. Holy shit, Elliot. I was going Wolfgang Blitz. My typing skills, they're off the charts today, man. Totally kidding there. But 7-zip, if you're wondering what I'm grabbing over here, these are actually the EXEs, and sometimes I need to be able to use 7-zip to extract files without installing it on the system. Obviously, I prefer to install it on the system, but that's not always possible. Now, more than likely, because I use 7-zip so often, I have it already on my server, so we shouldn't have to actually download this, I'm thinking. Let's just make sure. Oh, there is 1806. Just came out on the 30th of this month. Never mind. Update your 7-zip if you don't have it. If you run 9it, it should be grabbing it pretty soon here. It's always important to keep 7-zip updated just because so many things use it. A lot of times they might just be built in as well. Just because it's open source, and it is the best in my opinion. But did I grab all of them? I don't know. Excuse me. So I just downloaded all those. The ones we want, so these extracted ones are actually the exe files, which over here you're going to have MSI, exe, source. You don't need extra. I don't use. But I do extract the 2 exes. I keep the installers in my installers folder right here. So we're going to delete those. Going to put the installers in there. Now, like I did before, I'm going to name this dash x86, just so I know which one it is. Now, also, if you notice, they're right here because those are the extracted versions of these, so I can run them without having to install them. All you got to do is use 7-zip to extract 7-zip. And, 7-zip Notepad++. Yes, I use Notepad++ as well. I don't keep, on my tools drive at least, I don't need it because I don't need to edit files that often. It is, however, even up currently on my system. Just for editing text documents, notes, INI files, batch files, all that fun stuff. So now if we were to, say, open up 64-bit guy here and open up, the FM is file manager. So if I switch to app here and then we go to, nope, wrong one. Nope. So there's like 4 things named 7-zip right now. What's it actually named? Oh, C something. There you go. Okay, so there you go. We can just run it. Then you could use browse and all that fun stuff to extract your files without having to install it on the system, which say if you're in a WinPE environment, Windows pre-install environment, so you can boot to something and then modify Windows. It's nice to have programs that you don't have to install. Whereas I do keep, because I install 7-zip very often, I do keep the installers in this installers folder as well. Let's see here. Imagburn, like I said, there's not going to be an update for that. It's so old, but it still works very well. Test disk. Let's take a peek here. There might be an update for that. It's a pretty good thing for partitions. Kind of, see, it says partition recovery file undelete. Like, it's a kind of a file recovery program if it didn't get truly deleted. If it gets overwritten, you're going to need something beefier. But test disk is amazing. I have saved my own butt multiple times with it because, say I was futzing around with a RAID array, and I deleted the wrong partition on the wrong drive, all that sort of stuff. As long as you don't touch it from there, hop into this, you'll be able to recover that partition. Super, super, super handy. Okay, so we're looking at, there's a beta 7.1 and then there's 7.0. We already have the beta 7.1, so we are good. And that's why you name your files and folders. Remember that. Waifu 2X, I don't believe there's going to be an update for that. I am hoping they're going to update that cuDNN thing for RTX, since on my main system I will have a 2080 Ti, but they are running an older build. You actually have to go into Legacy to get it. We go over here. cuDNN data. It is specifically 8.0 version 6, which is an older version. Hey, I'm glad I can help you. If you have any questions on specific stuff, we're just kind of working through my tools here as I update them because they've been out of date probably since it looks like most of them were updated in April of 2018 and then some in October of 2018. So it is, it's time to get updated, and I'm setting up a bunch of my own computers. And as well as a bunch of friends, some friends that haven't had new computers in years upon years are finally getting them. And it's nice to be able to provide them with updated tools, like just a folder with all this stuff in. So I can just tell them, hey, open this up. You're good to go. I also finally got my home theater PC from Windows 8 to Windows 10 since I didn't need Windows Media Center for recording TV. Yeah. I'm kind of showing you where you can get them right now. I might be able to zip up the tools folder itself or a version of it and put it up there. Got to be a little bit careful though, because most of this stuff doesn't allow for redistribution, like in mass. But hit me up on Twitter. It's at TheProfosist, and I'll see what I can do for you. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. Something about Waifu 2X. I have made dedicated videos on it. It's amazing. Developer is Japanese though, so get your translation stuff ready. Oh, and he did update it. And it mentions CUDNN, except I can't read Japanese. Okay. Is there an English version of the notes? This one I might not update on stream. It's going to take me too long because I have to go through NVIDIA's developer program to get the CUDNN files. Because it is looking like they have updated this version, so they might have heard my cry. And yes, it's defaulted Japanese. Here you go. Fixed crash when running current CUNet model in an environment where CUDNN cannot be used. Add an error when split size is not a multiple of 4 when using CUNet with GUI. So that's why it would crash. Incorporating CU model from Waifu 2X 13.2 fixed version check did not work well. Oh, so it wasn't checking what version, and you might have gotten the incorrect version. So I'm going to leave that for later because it does look like there have been major changes. It's been on the version I have for quite some time, which is 1.1.8.4. We're on a 1.2.0.1. So, and I'm probably going to have to get a new CUDNN file as well, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but I use this very frequently. So it's like a smart upscaling. Yeah, I'm using Firefox because I did have an extension for that, but haven't installed it on here. Yeah, even though I go to a lot of Japanese websites regularly. Yeah, that'd be smart, but just haven't got around to it. I used to use it was G-Translate in Firefox. Then it was deprecated because the developer stopped making it. Then somebody else started making a version, and then all of the Firefox extensions kind of got killed with Quantum. So they have to make a new version. And I just haven't been bothered to see if they have. So up from... We're going to do tune up next then. I'll just keep Waifu 2X in the back of my mind. Auto runs we added in here. CCleaner. I do believe I already downloaded it the other day. All right. Let's see if and you might have heard some bad stuff about CCleaner semi recently. That was with a specific version. Now they may or may not have put that in there by default. I still think it's a beneficial tool. And we specifically want portable because we're running that. We want zip files that we can run right off that drive. Do I ever use VMs? Yes, I do. mostly on server end stuff though, because I got no reason to use one here really. And actually, a lot of times it's easier for me to just have another computer because I got somebody kicking around that I just remote into it. That might sound weird, but I am building my new NAS. It's going to be running free NAS. I think I have my Ryzen processor around here. Yeah, here you go. I was going to do a Ryzen 3 1200. It would have been enough for a file server, but this Ryzen 5 2600 was on sale for $150 or $140 something on Amazon Newegg the other day. So I returned the 1200 because it wasn't open and got the 2600. I really thought those 2 additional cores and 4 threads would be great. So I can dedicate 4 cores, 8 threads to the file server, and then the 2 cores, 4 threads to VMs and stuff like that. I need to order up the RAM yet because for some reason it didn't go through the other day. I do have non-ECC memory, 32 gigabit, but we're going to have at least 48 terabytes of storage, and the rule is kind of 1 gigabyte of RAM per 1 terabyte of storage, so 32 is not going to be enough, especially if I want to run some VMs on there besides that base free NAS. So I'm going to order up. I did find a place that has a good discount on 2666 ECC Samsung B die memory. I do believe I have it bookmarked even because I didn't want to lose it. Other bookmarks. Here we go. We'll open that up in a new tab. Here, memory.net. Come on, don't be sold out because I was trying to buy them the other night and it didn't go through for some reason. Here you go. $158 for this is a steal. The cheapest I've found elsewhere is $180 to $190, and those are kind of like sketchy sites. This place does let you use PayPal. So realistically, if you ran into any issues, but it seems like they specifically sell just lots and lots of memory. And I think on Newegg it was $200 or $220 for this stick, and they're out of stock. So this is a really good price. I think the shipping might be a bit pricey, but I'm saving like $50 a stick. So I can spend $20 to $40 on shipping, even if it's slow, no problem, because, you know, I saved a bunch on the actual sticks themselves. Because it seems like this is a place where you might, if you're like a larger company and doing servers or lots of systems, order from. But this is currently the best stock Samsung B die memory you can get. And if I recall, Ryzen 2, which is Zen 1.5, natively runs at 2666 instead of 2400. So it should be a perfect fit. I know we went kind of off tangent here. Sorry, I bumped the mic as well on this. But, oh, I thought I just updated CCleaner. I guess not. We're going to download the installer and the portable file. Oh, no, I do have it. All right. So there we go. I already had it on my server. Must have gotten it on our system. See, this is why I do like updating. Like on all my computers, my tools drive, if I make an update, will update on all of them via Resilio Sync, which is previously known as BitTorrent Sync. Uses a BitTorrent protocol to basically do cloud sync without uploading to the cloud. It just syncs between your devices, and especially if you're on LAN, super duper quick. I use it to back up my phone as well. So any of my pictures are dumped using that to my server, and then my server is just backed up to Backblaze. So it's much kind of simpler and straightforward. We can delete this. So we got auto runs. You guys saw that earlier. Great tool for auto startup stuff on Windows. You shouldn't really need to use it unless you're having issues because it's kind of low level and kind of hard to use. I would probably use just the Windows Startup Manager, msconfig, maybe even CCleaner first before I would go into auto runs. But if you really can't tell what is starting up causing an issue, it'll show you everything and anything. Down here we have Junkware Removal Tool, which is a great thing from Malwarebytes. They, however, discontinue it. That's why I have EOL written in there. Here, I'll make that big for you. If you notice, I got EOL in the name of the file here. That is because they have killed it off. Now, I still have an exe. This is why you have I have an archive on my server of all of my software. And they're just saying you should just use Adware Cleaner. Now, a lot of the stuff for Adware Cleaner or from Junkware Tool is in Adware Cleaner, but this is just a nice little command line tool that runs, makes a restore point before, cleans it, makes a restore point after. It'll get rid of like say if you have an HP, it'll get rid of their redirect to their their website as your homepage. It'll get rid of like some of the base tools, like just crap they install that aren't drivers, all kind of stuff like that. So it's super, super useful. Just basically get a new computer setup that you need to do, run that on it. Bam. Then there's Startup Lite. This is, another thing for managing startup programs. I actually, it's a Malwarebytes tool as well. Malwarebytes makes a ton of really nice software. And they've been buying up other good companies over the years and kind of combining it more and more into like, a one bigger software. So I already have 1.07. It doesn't show up the download thing here, but it's asking to download 1.07, and that is what I have. So we're good on the tune-up here. Oh, I'm sounding good. Well, we got the this is a Yeti Pro, and a key thing with a lot of these cardioid condenser mics that people mistake, and I have a Yeti Nano on my desk if I don't want something up in my face like this, is you want it just loud enough to get the correct levels, but the closer you get, the more lower and lower you can turn down the gain. Ideally, you'd like 0 gain. And I would have to be like right up in it, and I'm already pretty close. But that way it doesn't pick up any background stuff and just picks up your voice. And a lot of people, because like an easy thing to do is right now it's actually between me and my keyboard. My keyboard's in front of me down here. So if you don't have a boom arm like this, which is the easiest way, it is to actually put it in front of your keyboard. Like I have a wrist rest. Can't really show it to you, but I would pull up the wrist rest and then put the Yeti Nano right there if I didn't have a boom arm like this to get a good audio. And then you tweak it. Easy way to tweak is if you just go into a program like Audacity, which I have somewhere around here. There it is. I can pop it up. I can capture it real quick on the stream here. Audacity. All right. So if we kind of layout, do crop on or something. Oh. All right. So here we got Audacity. It's still kind of cropped. I don't know why. But what you would do is just record yourself. I can use the Yeti Nano right now. And if we go, like mic check, how's it going, guys? Yada, yada, yada. And you can see the meter go up and down. It's a little quiet right now. You want generally a -15 and make sure your peaks, like where you get a bit louder, or say if you want to become a little excited, don't have that go over -12. If you go over -12, you will start peaking. And that's where distortion is going to start. And this is just an easy way. Now, if you check it with this and you keep your levels at a good place, stuff like Discord is going to have to mess with it less. Or stuff like XSplit does have stuff built in where you can have it modify the mic. But if you get your levels correct, that's kind of like the first key thing. And another thing is, especially with these condenser mics, is the closer you are, the less you have to turn the gain up, which means better sound quality. All right, so here's another program I use a whole ton, which is Crystal Disk Mark. Now, they make two different programs. There's Crystal Disk Mark and Crystal Disk Info. I use those both very, very, very often. Crystal Disk Mark I'm actually using on my server right now, which I should actually remote into not my server, it's on my repair PC right now, and I'm going to remote into that. Hopefully I didn't get cut off. And you guys won't be able to see this, but I do have my new I have 4 8TB drives for my NAS. I already have 4 in the server. I'm going to build the NAS, transfer all the data over, then move the 4 in there, so it'll be total 8. I'm full formatting all those drives and then running a couple benchmarks onto them to make sure they're good. So I can use Crystal Disk Mark. I throw, let's minimize this real quick. So if I go in here right now, pop this open, and then we go to app, just so I can show you what it looks like. Here you go. So it looks like, oh geez, what happened? Layout. Sure? Question mark? This seems like it's not fitting things. So this is a super nice utility. So I can set the size. So right now, after I've full formatted one of the 8TB drives, I'm going to run 5 passes of 9, or it's going to be 9 passes of 32 GB read and write on these various settings, and then I will run that 5 times. Make sure they're all the same. There are some more in-depth stuff you can run to check drives. A full format will usually catch it, like if it takes forever or never finishes, as well as hitting it really hard, because this is going to be sequential, random, all that sort of stuff. It'll usually conk out or throw some errors, or have like a weird bench. Squeers actually had one of his drives that had 50% of the read speed as the write speed, and whenever you read from it, it made like a weird like murr noise out of the hard drive, which it definitely shouldn't do. So we had to RMA that. It was just anytime you see less read speed than write speed, something's wrong. Most devices have much higher read than write. So it's just kind of a general rule of thumb. Excuse me. All right, let me get back to. So I'm not going to be able to delete this folder right now because I am still using it on the server. But what I can do is get the zip file for the 6.0.2. And we'll pop it in there. Later, once I am done on the repair PC, I will delete the older one off here. It's just that I can't delete it in the middle of it using it, because it will sync over and then try and delete it on there. So we just extract that. Same sort of stuff here. Run it once. There we go. For those wondering, we can switch over to it. You can see it's basically the same thing. This is just, and when NVMe came out, Intel did work because they knew Crystal Disk Mark is like the benchmark to use. They did work with them for proper NVMe support. Did I ever heard of a utility called What Up? No, I have not. I can look that up shortly, though. What I was going to say, though, is if you're doing, say if you want to benchmark SD cards for your camera, there's 2 different ways I would do them. I would do a crap ton of 50 megabyte, because if you're taking pictures, generally your pictures are going to be 5 or so megabytes for JPEGs and 25 or so for raw images. So doing sequential 50 megs, just, you know, real snappy. You don't have to do 9 necessarily, but that's what I would do with that. And then you want to do 4 big gigabyte chunks, because that's what, if you're shooting video, a lot of them will cap the files at 4 gigs. So it's nice to know how good it is at saving a full 4 gig file there. I also do like doing 1 gig. 1 gig is probably like the standard, I would say. It would be 5 passes at 1 gig to check your drive. But I usually do the 50 megabytes, the 1 gig, 4 gig, and then if it is like a SSD, I might do 16. And the reason why I do that is I like to make sure this fits in memory. And it cannot use that, but most of my systems have 16 or more gigs of memory. So that's kind of just what I usually stick with. And like the 50, I would say, for your portable, and then the 4 are probably your 2 most important if you're doing like digital movies and stuff like that. It's What's Up. We'll look it up real quick. Oh, I don't want to lose this page though. Yeah, it wants to correct to WhatsApp. What's up? WhatsApp Messenger. No. What's up? Network monitoring software? I've seen some other networking monitoring software, if that's what it is. Well-being phone app. There's so many different things, and it thinks it should be checking for WhatsApp, not what's up. I'm trying to think of the, is it Glasswire I'm thinking of? That's the one I've used. High-end task manager. What's up? No, I haven't. The new task manager Windows 10 though is oh, you're not even seeing what I'm looking at. Oh, here you go. So Google, being Google, thinks I should be looking at WhatsApp. It's not what we're looking for. Then there's this network monitoring utility. You say task manager. Task manager errors? Oh, here we go. No, that's WhatsApp again. It corrected the WhatsApp. Oh my god. See, that's when you need to change your name. Using the web task manager. No, I didn't mean that. Yeah, this searching for this is proving futile, sadly. Yeah, Glasswire is good for network monitoring. Like if you want to see oh, we got messages here. Yeah, there was that one. Hopefully you can't hear my system sounds. I don't think you can. I just got people messaging me. I'm guessing they're getting back from work or finally becoming free. So next thing we need, since we're already on this website, normally if we go under disk mark is under stress test because it runs a benchmark. We could also call it a benchmark, but my benchmarks are generally like full-blown graphics stuff, not just like a quick disk thing. It's like Cinebench, Final Fantasy 15, or and Final Fantasy 14. Unit engine stuff, not like they're big files. I just keep them separated. The other thing that we need though is crystal disk info. I always get the zip file. That is going to be an identification. No, never mind. I was wrong. It is under monitoring. There we go. And this one I will delete. 7-zip extract 2. and I'll show you what this one looks like real quick here. Crystal Disk Info is great because it can read smart data SSDs. It'll be able to tell you how many terabytes written you have, so you know if you're close to your endurance. Yeah, it's gonna be mad at me about something. I know it will. What is it mad at me about? Oh, yeah. Yep. Not surprised. I'll pop this up for you. So it can also tell you about health of the drive, stuff like that. Right now, it is mad at me about my Intel NVMe SSD, saying 55C is too hot. Realistically, that shouldn't be. Oh, you can hear the sounds. Dang it. I have system sounds muted. So maybe it's just because you can hear it through my speakers. They're set pretty loud right now. Turn those down. Oh, well. Like I said, it's been a while since I've streamed. I used to have this all worked out properly. Been a couple months, though. Can I lock the keep aspect ratio? There you go. So here we got my Intel drive is complaining that's too hot. Realistically, that's not too hot for an SSD. But the nice stuff is you can see writes. So this thing's got 11.6 terabyte writes, which is not a whole ton, but it's not a small amount. My external Samsung portable, 1 terabyte, it's only got 2 terabytes of writes. Right now I'm having to use it as editing drive because I'm on my ITX secondary system and I just can't stuff enough drives in it essentially. This is an SSD. It's an older Crucial. And you can tell because it's older, a lot of this stuff doesn't show up. But it would still throw yellow or red if one of these has failed. Same thing with the hard drives. It'll tell you power on hours. So that way, if you do get a drive out of a system, you can pop it in there, see how long it's been used. Say if you're getting used parts and see if you really should be using it or not. Like say if you see multiple years of on time on there. I probably wouldn't trust your data on it. That's just me. Like we're looking at almost a year now with this system being on since I built it of uptime. This V drive with the Crucial 1 terabyte, that's my games SSD. So we're looking at 884, so that's over 2 years of uptime. I think I used to let it go to sleep. I don't know if it does now or not. Since it's an older, I got it for $180 though years ago. So I think 2.5, if not more years ago, is when I got it. For $180 for a terabyte, which was a steal. The 500 gig was, this is 960, so in 480 gig was 100. And I think those were out of stock, but then they were also selling the terabyte for 180, so I just snapped it up. Still been using it. It's not an amazing drive, but for games, still way better than a hard drive. All right, so that's Crystal Disk Info. Another utility I use all the time, even on my own personal system, not just when repairing computers. Back to stress test here. PowerMax, that is a newer one. Let's see if there's a new version of that real quick. What it is that is actually a true stress test. It's made by CPU-ID, the same people that make CPU-Z and Harbor Monitor. I haven't used Perf Monitor before. So we want the zip. Okay, it's still 1.0, so there's no point in me downloading that. I will show it to you, though. It's a super simple utility. And it always is like, hey, make sure when you use this, because it's going to be a heavy load on your system. Just be aware we don't, because it's like kind of like a fur mark in a way. Because it does have that feature. So, and it's just not, like a fur mark you have to install. I can understand for like benchmark testing and stuff, but this, if say if I just need to load up a laptop to make sure it's not thermally constrained or something like that, so you can CPU You can choose SSE or AVX. Usually AVX is hotter, so that's what I go with. But if the person is not using Adobe and stuff like that, there's no point in testing for that. So you can kind of lower that to SSE. GPU, you can set a resolution you want, and then you set a timeout. And you hit go. Super simple. Puts a load on CPU and or GPU. You say I have to hit start and start. Kind of like a quick and dirty Prime 95 / Furmark, which is a better combo if you want to do like a 24-hour test or something like that. But if you just want to see if an overclock stuck or a laptop's overheating, this is a good thing to use, and it's much lighter. So that's why I have it as part of my kit here. Now if we switch back, we then also have Prime 95. We're going to leave all these other tabs. Perf monitor. I don't generally need that, but they make good tools, so that was probably one to check out. Hardware monitor I use all the time. And as I do CPU, CPU Z. It's great for checking memory. Also, obviously, CPU stuff. So this would be under identification, I do believe. Maybe not. Well, yeah, uptime. That isn't continuous. That's like powered on time for those drives, not uptime for the computer. Uptime on this computer right now is 2 days, 22 hours. I think I last restarted a couple days ago because Battlefield 5 was acting funky. Total uptime on the system is 190 days with this install of Windows. I did have a bunch of benchmarking on the system to tune it, overclock it, all that sort of stuff beforehand. So that's what those probably additional uptime days are on that NVMe SSD. Since I did take my time, I had other stuff going on, and I took my time to do that. But now the graphics card and CPU are locked into their stuff solid, and I can run it 24/7, no issues. So if you have another system that you can lean on while you're setting up another one, taking time to do those overclocks before you put it into action, actually make it your computer, it's good to do because that way you don't have to mess around. I've just found if you're like, oh, I'll just overclock it later, you're probably not going to. Yeah, sorry, but you're just probably not going to. Because also with overclocking, there's a lot of crashing involved. And usually I just reinstall Windows after, or use a separate drive for temporary install Windows so that if I break it, it's not a big issue. Now, if you're trying to do that on a working system, that's something else entirely. And you got to be a bit more careful when you do your overclocking. So if you guys haven't seen CPU ID before, you should really pick it up and check it out. Nope. Let's check. Here you go. So here's what my processor looks like. I'm running a AMD Ryzen 7 1700X. Picked this up not last Black Friday, but Black Friday before last. Might even been before that a little bit, but it was $250, which I thought was a bang up deal. This Black Friday they did have them for $150 though, and that's when my one of my buddies who was still running a Phenom 2 X4 965 finally picked up a CPU for upgrade, because that for $150, 8 cores, 16 threads, they can't beat that. I mean, yeah, you can't overclock it as far. I got 3.9 on this, completely solid. I could push 4 and 4.1, but it isn't an ITX system, and the cooling really isn't there, and I had to run the fans really high to dissipate that heat, but 3.9 was chill on all cores, all threads. It's sitting there happy, sitting pretty. So quite liking this setup here. If we go over to memory, you can see the timings that we're running at for that. I would love to be running 3200, but I am running 32 gigs total, and because it's ITX, is 2 16 gig sticks. So the best you have available there is 2933 for Samsung B dies. I'm running FlareX. You could also get the Trident Z RGB. You got to make sure it has RZX at the end, not just RZ though, because I believe it's the X at the end. That means it's Ryzen and Threadripper compatible. Yeah, so you can kind of look at stuff like this. Mostly these are for memory and CPU info, so I know what to look up. Or if you ever need to know, like, hey, does this support SSE AVX? It'll tell you all that here. Also has graphics. GPU-Z is better for this, though. Do I ever do any network monitoring? I don't really need to. I will do it if I can't find the virus. So a lot of times it's due to infection either on the network or on the computer. And network monitoring would be one way to find that. If you can't track it down another way. I don't generally have to do it all that often, though. So I don't have a lot of software for that. Or any, possibly. I don't think I have anything in my tools drive for that necessarily, just because it's like that's a prolonged thing. Usually if I'm cleaning up a computer, I'll be at somebody's house, or they might drop it off and want it in a day or two. And I just haven't had the need. Because I usually have to get stuff done before then. If it is really that bad and it's just on that system, I'll just back it up and wipe it. Like I said, Glasswire is the one I've heard of a whole bunch. I believe Jerry, which would be Barnacules, has a video about using it. And I believe Linus, that's where I think I first heard about it years ago. He was using it for monitoring during Windows 10 after it was installed and set up to see what telemetry it was sending and if he could actually turn it all off, and he was doing it in a VM. I believe Linus Tech Tips has also used it as well. They might have even advertised it at one point. So I'm not saying just because they used it, it's good, but it did help Barnacules track down telemetry data from Microsoft. It's just that they reset it every cumulative security update, unless you do it via group policy, which you can do on Pro and higher versions. It will just reset it. So even registry entries and stuff like that. So the other thing is if you turn off too much of it, it'll make like stuff like Microsoft Office not work. Say if you need Xbox app, stuff like that. And I do use other Microsoft software, so I don't really want to break the whole experience. It would be not great. So hardware monitor. This is an awesome utility. I saw both Gamers Nexus, Steve from Gamers Nexus, and I believe it was DeBauer using it. Oh, that's not the right one. Just a CPU ID. Okay. There we go. And yeah, I really do trust their stuff. They both do a very good job. And what you see here is actually not all the things. This is just the default thing that it's got set up. Voltages, the best read directly from there, but it's better than nothing. Fan speeds are nice to see if you need to check up on them. On here I have two 3000 RPM NFF 12 industrial, the waterproof ones. Happy New Year's, Miles. Thanks for stopping out. But yeah, this is super useful if you're like, say if you need to know, make sure like a fan is running or see if it's ramping up or something. You can watch it in here. You can watch your voltage on your CPU. I have mine locked to 1.35. It does vary a little bit because of V-droop and that sort of stuff, but it's not an extreme overclock, so I don't need to really lock it down hard like I will on my main desktop Anthrax 9 once that's built. CPU usage across all the cores. Big thing is temps. I don't know if 1700X was ever fixed where it has that 20-degree offset or not, because there are those two different temperature probes. There's like the package probe and then the core probes. So I don't know if they ever fixed that, or if motherboards just compensated and stuff like that. You can also see memory temps, hard drive temps, utilization. It's just good, amazing for monitoring, and this is just a small fraction of what it can all do. I'm doing pretty good. Just having to update all these tools here. Yeah, thanks guys. Yeah, we're for the new year. I don't really have cleaning that I need to do. And sorry for bumping the mic there. I just need to update my repair tools since I'm a bit behind on them, and I have a lot of either rebuilds or full system builds that I've been doing for myself, others, and even just helping some people who have previously built with me. They've since moved away and building it from scratch. So, yeah, if you want to check out any of the progress on that, check out my Twitter, which is at TheProfosist. There's also the website's Twitter to get like video and website related content, which is at TechExchangeThe. Right now for builds, I just finished cleaning out my home theater PC, which was previously the Pylon, because it was also my server. I have since started a build on a new NAS, which will inherit the Pylon since that's always been my server, the name there. You can find that as the Pylon NAS. I don't remember. NAS something. NAS rebuild? Something like that. You'll see it on my Twitter. I'll be modifying my Antec 900. And, it's going to have 8 terabyte drives. We're running FreeNAS. It's going to be a learning experience because it's been a long time since I've used some form of Linux, just for other than my dedicated server on the web and stuff like that. But yeah, so we got to update these tools so I can get working on all those systems. And I'm sick of seeing the opening of a utility up and it being like, hey, did you know there's an update available? It's like, yes, I know. I really need to get around to that sort of thing. All right, so next thing here, we have Prime 95. I have a ton of versions of Prime 95. Excuse me. And the reason for that is that there's a ton of versions of Prime 95. And certain versions affect different CPUs better. There was an issue with Haswell, with AVX, where it was overheating CPUs because of how Haswell worked. Then later versions of Intel actually have a separate CPU multiplier for AVX. I heavily use AVX with, like anytime you do encoding video, it uses it. Any 3D rendering, it uses it. Any of those like more powerful workstation-y programs are going to use AVX. So I try to just tune for that. Now, the reason why you can kind of get away with, like if you're doing game-specific overclocking, most games don't utilize it. So you can usually get a higher clock speed. I also do try and tune for all cores to the same speed. And if you actually were to tune each CPU, you could probably get it a little bit quicker. But that's a lot of work for... I mean, if you like your hobby is benchmarking, have at it. But I think you're better off going for all core, especially if you use your system more as a workstation than a gaming machine. Let's get ourselves the latest version of Prime 95. We're looking at it as 20P95-294B8, which I have already. So that is the newest one right there. 2.8.10, I believe, is like an older one. It's more stressful if I recall, but don't use it on anything newer than Haswell. I do just keep that stuff around though, because I deal with systems that are, some people even still bring Windows XP stuff in. Have I ever coded? Yes, I have taken classes for coding. I would do it as a hobby. Like I've programmed my own keyboards. We should have one sitting around here. This one isn't going to require all that much stuff here, but it will require a little bit of poking around in matrix files and stuff like that. So I've worked on C on these. In high school, I took VB and C++. Not that I was in high school in 1995. Not even close. It was actually 10 years or more later than that, but we still ran the version Microsoft had for C++ that was 95. So it was like Windows 95 edition that I learned on, which is before .NET was even integrated. So that was real fun. I mean, the same concepts apply, but application was completely different. Like how you applied certain things and certain code sets and stuff that are there are wildly different. I do know a bit of HTML as well because I was doing some web design for a while. Most of that stuff, though, it's like I understand the basics and then would have to learn specifics for each, like each language as I needed it. And I kind of just poke around as I need it, which is why I enjoy it more as a hobby. So if I need to program a keyboard, like firmware, that sort of stuff, and it's usually not even from scratch. It's like modifying somebody else's code. Like I'm not writing the firmware, I'm just modifying it for my needs. Still, it's I like poking around there. I just, after taking a number of classes, couldn't do it as my job. But I do like, programming. It's fun as a hobby to poke around. I like math too, so like the challenge of learning that stuff. Like I'm working on a database for some of my multimedia stuff, and I wanted to automatically dump using PowerShell, or not PowerShell, PowerShell, and then have that import into like a database automatically by giving it a CSV file, stuff like that. So that's gonna be kind of fun. It's a little project. Do you know a good starting point? For beginner stuff, grab any sort of textbook. There are some like coding websites now too that will do basics. I believe there's a good I don't remember the name of them, but they are a non-for-profit coding like thing that has a YouTube channel that will at least do basics of stuff for free. I don't remember what the name of it is. But there's definitely plenty of resources out there on the internet for coding, especially basics, because they want to get people in there. It's always something nice to learn, even knowing the basics. Like, say if you're working on hardware and you know the basics for Udemy has stuff. Yep. I know there's some specific coding stuff too, because I know some people who contribute to them, like lessons and stuff like that. But because a lot of my friends are actually software developers, or computer engineer, CEs, which is computer engineer, and I forget what the other. Some of them even double majored in it. Software engineer, computer. So they're software engineers, and then computer science would be the other one. Some friends that are both, some friends that are one or the other. Also know a lot of people in IT. And I'm PC repair, going to kind of be somewhat IT as well. So Code Academy, yep, I've heard of them as well. Heard good things about Code Academy. Thanks, Wolfgang. I kind of look up stuff as I need it because I understand the basics, if that makes sense. And once you get like your basics of programming down, you'll be able to apply that to whatever you need. And I actually don't use it often enough that where if I don't leave myself good enough notes on what I did or what I needed to do, I get to relearn it every time, which is interesting. Like I still have a batch file I wrote for something that I could not do now. Well, if you do computer science, the software engineer would be a BA. The computer science is a BS, if I recall. So it really depends there. You can fairly easily double major if you want to put another year in. You could double major in both fairly easy. I know 2 people that are close friends that did that. There's also computer engineering, which it's going to have a lot of software. But then you're going to have electric engineering as well in there. So that's going to give you a bit more to the hardware level of stuff. I personally, even though going for computer engineering at one point, and electrical. Eventually, like I'm more into the industrial design now, like top level stuff. Now I will say even designing products and that sort of stuff, that comes down to more art. But understanding, say material science and say what they might have to go through software wise is beneficial. So even the people who don't take who aren't going for even like a computer related degree. I bumped the mic again. My apologies. There's a little like tab thing that's off screen that you can't see. Don't forget about the relatively new field. Are you talking about like computer science field or like that sort of thing? Don't know necessarily what you're talking about, but what I was going to get to was, say if you're even going for like an English major, there is beneficial to benefits to taking like an intro to computer programming class, just so you get your kind of head wrapped around the basics. Just like there's benefit if you're taking, like say once again, if you have an English major and you're taking like an intro to, like intro to drawing, as like a, you need those extra random classes. There's a reason why they put those in there, and it really does help. Actually, you know what? I'll zoom out on the camera here so you can kind of see. There's a little tabby guy down here that kind of sticks out. It's the screw for the microphone. I just nick with the top of my hand. Kind of annoying. Oh, cybersecurity. Gotcha. Cybersecurity, you're going to want some sort of IT backing and or software, like computer science backing going into that. Like that's actually a fairly, if you're going to be developing stuff for that, I would say if you're just running stuff, that's definitely more of an IT degree than it is an engineering or like bachelor's. You're looking at more of a 2-year degree. Not that you can't build up from there. If a 2 degrees can be great to get you started and stuff. So I just probably wouldn't take, if you want to go hardcore into programming stuff, like in that field, I don't think a 2-year degree is going to be enough for you. Now, I knew a friend that did do that. He actually didn't even take a 2-year degree. It was like a couple, like 8-month or less course. Heavy, quick, fast. And they taught you right away directly how to make apps. Like work on making apps, that sort of stuff. And then the rest is kind of like that gets you in the door and you learn it on the job. That's another way to do it. Just be aware that getting a job at a established company that's not a startup is going to be tough. And working at startups is tough in general because you don't necessarily know that you'll have your job the next day. So you got to kind of tread lightly there and gain knowledge. If you're going to startups, more than anything, you want to gain knowledge from them working there because they're probably going to be people more experienced before you move on. And whether or not you move on after a year is usually not up to you. It's whether or not the startup is still around. So, I mean, working for startups can be great because it gets you all these different experiences, and a lot of times you have to do more, like you have to be outside your comfort zone. But it is not a safe, secure job, which is not necessarily bad. I'm just saying, like, because a lot of times like if you get a 4-year degree and you spent all that money, you're going to want to get into some place that you can work for a number of years to recoup that money and then move on to either getting another degree, like a master's or another bachelor's degree in something else, and then moving either up the ladder in the same company, or nowadays from talking with people that I know, it's easier to move to a different company to go up than it is to move up in your own company. Now that, in my opinion, is sad because you should really hire from within, in my opinion, but that is not what companies seem to do. So I guess if you got to change companies to go up, work there your year. I wouldn't leave before a year, personally. And then leave and get yourself a better job. So it looks like back to our apps here. We're on we got XTU, Furmark, and we got to grab those. These are nice stress testing programs. And FurMark, I already got the latest one. You do have to install FurMark to use it, which is an annoyance, in my opinion. XTU, I definitely don't have the latest version. And that's going to be downloadcenter.intel.com. I go there quite often to get drivers, as you can tell. I don't know if XTU will just pop up. It might. So the latest one that they're saying is 6.4.125. I have 6 old XTU. I also keep older XTUs around because certain ones are better compatible with certain versions of processors, and like my main desktop Anthrax 9 is still going to be on X99. Home theater PC is my old desktop on X79. Then the repair PC is on X58. So I have to maintain all of those generations. And I didn't go to X299 for those wondering, because it was garbage. All the weird restrictions on PCI Express, the fact that the first good CPU, the 10 core, is still a grand, even though the previous generation 10 core was a grand. They kind of fixed it now. All the PCI Express lanes are unlocked, and they use solder now, finally. But as a platform, Threadripper is better. So an X99 isn't bad at all. Still has NVMe, has DDR4. I have USB 3.1, even though it's not on board, and I don't need the RGB, so I'm just going to sit on this for a while. Well, thanks for stopping out, Wolfgang. Yeah, hopefully I'll be streaming again, and this will be uploaded to YouTube if you want to check out the rest of it when you got time, because I am going to go over the rest of the tools I use. You have a nice night. Yeah, usually my streams end up being far longer than I intend, but you guys get additional info out of it. I'll probably upload this in its entirety to YouTube, and then I will also... How big is this file? Jeez. Then I will also edit it down, so it's just my programs. Just so like people can use it as reference for, utilities they might want to use for tuning up their system. YouTube, if you do text.cx, I don't have actually I'm not big enough to have a registered name yet. So I do have my own shortened URL though, which is text.cx. So it's just text.cx/YouTube. My website's the-tech-exchange.com. Since the Tech Exchange and Tech Exchange which is what all my accounts are, like on Twitter, the website and this sort of stuff is Tech Exchange that was taken as a domain, if I recall correctly. But yeah, so, and I'm at TheProfosist everywhere. So if you want to follow on like Instagram or Twitter, that sort of stuff, you can check me out there. That's probably where I'm most active. So I'm currently working on a big build, which is my NAS build, which is going to be a huge thing for me because I'm using FreeNAS, and I am going to be modifying my Antec 900 to have cable management. And this is a case that's, mine is from 2006, so we're looking at 12 years old, roughly. And cable management did not exist back then. So I will be adding it to the case and then modifying the side panels to accommodate cable management. All right, so next thing up here, we have monitoring. Install HDTune. I don't believe that has an update available for it. Let's go back to here real quick. Because since I use the free version of HDTune. Yeah, HDTune Pro. And this is good for running benchmarks and stress tests and that sort of stuff on hard drives. I don't use it very often because I can usually catch it with something else first. But you know, just in case. We also want core temp. I have core temp 1.11. It looks like there is now 1.12.1. So we're going to do the same thing we did before here. I got to watch my external SSD that we're recording to right now because I didn't realize it was as full as it was. You know, we got less than 50 gigs left, and I am recording at 4K 60 for the YouTube channel. And we're broadcasting at 1080p 30. So it's chewing up space pretty darn quick here. Should have cleared that out beforehand, but it was kind of hey, I finally got off work early enough, and you know, ate dinner and then had enough free time to stream. Because I'm otherwise be working on one of my projects or something like that. All right, so core temp. Just running another benchmark on the diagnostic PC downstairs on my first of my 4 new 8 terabyte drives, just to make sure they're nice and stable and not throwing any errors. Yeah, thanks. It should be a pretty big project. I'm going to initially just check the hardware in another case, so I can start running through software and setup and stuff like that while I modify the older case to fit exactly what I need. And the reason why I decided to use that is I'm using hot swaps that need 12 5.25-inch bays, which you don't see nowadays. There might be one new case that has that, but I already had my Antec 900 since it's my original case for my first fully custom gaming PC. And you know, I could fit it in there without modifying it, but looking at it, doing cable management, it's almost going to be easier to just cut it and add cable management than dealing with it. We already did CPU-Z. We already did Crystal Disk Info. We already did Hardware Monitor. If you're wondering why I have Core Temp, I also have Real Temp, and Hardware Monitor is probably the one I default to the most now. But all of these programs kind of read their temperatures a little bit differently because they grab from different so Tech Power Up is another place that has a lot of good stuff here. We're going to be grabbing GPU-Z as well, but we'll grab Real Temp right now. And just because they check them differently. Some did implement, back when Ryzen first came out, that 20C offset for the X series CPUs, and some didn't implement that. I already have 3.7, so we don't need that. We might as well grab GPU-Z right away. I am definitely going to need... where is my GPU-Z? GPU-Z. Oh. Apparently I don't have GPU-Z here. On here right now. Oh, it's just a... GPU dash Z. Huh. Did it get deleted or something? Because, yeah, GPU Z, I'll pop that open for you. All right. So let's switch over to there you go, Tech Power Up GPU Z. So you can see I'm running a 1066 gig. It's specifically an ITX version because I'm running an ITX build here. I think it's a gigabyte one, if I recall correctly. I got it when I RMA'd my 970 because it was doing weird things. Took them 3.5 months to get it. So I really don't recommend that, but they were the only ones with a 970, if I recall. Now it's becoming a bit more common to have ITX cards. But man, took forever to get me that replacement card. But it's going to give you stuff like all the info on your thing, whether it supports OpenCL, CUDA, PhysX, Direct Compute. You can check sensors on here. Probably the most common thing for me to do is change this to show maximums. So I know if it's hitting certain clocks, if it's hitting certain temperatures. So you can show lowest reading, show highest reading. There's a reset button down here. You can keep multiple of these open if you want. And you can use this in combination with hardware info, which can also grab this information, but just to compare and contrast. You always sometimes want, especially when overclocking and tuning systems, to have multiple sources of information. Core temp, I can show. There was an issue with core temp previously where it would just shut down your computer when you were running X99. That was great. That's when I ended up looking at real temp because it's just something super simple like this. Just shows your cores, your usage, and then wherever it's reading temperature from, as well as voltage and stuff like that. So super simple. Real temp is very, very similar. Real temp GT, I don't remember what GT is. Oh, processor detected is not supported. So here, real temp doesn't support Ryzen CPUs. So I had to use it for my X99 build. Can't use it for Ryzen 1st gen. Probably not Ryzen 2nd gen then either. Works well on Intel though. So then we have Winterstat here. This is a downright amazing program. Let's see if we can switch to it. Nope, not that guy. Right now it's untitled, I guess. Here you go. So you can't see the selection screen right now, but I'll select like my C drive here. So it's kind of going crazy. There's gonna be Pac-Man doing Pac-Man things, and it's gonna index your drive and tell you what you have where, which is super duper duper useful. Say especially with early SSDs when you had like 40, 60, 64, maybe 128 if you were lucky, storage, and your drive was full. Kind of like if I didn't know why my Samsung 1TB external I was recording to right now was getting full, you could use this and you would be able to use little Pac-Man guys once they're done and figure out what's all being stored where, and it'll give you a visual representation once it's done. If I wasn't doing this while streaming on NVMe SSD, this would probably already be done. The more smaller files you have, the longer it takes. On my server, it usually crashes because it has to index 24 terabytes. But it's super useful once we can get it. I'm going to grab a drink while it's going. Just give me 1 second here. Ugh. All right, so I'm back. Got my drink of choice. We got Coke Zero. All right. Oh, a little bit on my mic. Oh, well. And we'll get back to this. Nope. Not that view. This view. So here you have a visual representation of everything that's on my drive. These fat things here are MP4 files from my GoPro. Those normally won't be there. I kind of use my C drive as a temporary location dump to put like camera, camcorder, or like my Panasonic G7, GoPro, audio, all that sort of stuff before I sort it, put it on the server, and edit it and that sort of stuff. But I dump it all to C drive first. Since it's nice and quick, NVMe. I'll have an Optane 900p on my desktop. Excuse me. Yeah, it gives you, so you can click on these and it would pop out to it over here. You could also look at, it automatically sorts it from largest to smallest. So it's saying my users folder is huge, 120 something gigs. Music is up to 47 now, which, yep. And this is just, downloaded stuff. Yeah, so if we go through here, because even 10 gigs alone is one DSD album. If we go HD tracks, there's also the Akira DST album, which is 2.8 gigs. This might eventually, once I get everything set back up on my new desktop, not get moved over there, and I'll just keep it on the server, as because these are the original files. I will go through and edit all of those, but that's kind of like part of the reason why my user folder is so fat. There's 32 gigs in downloads, which I can believe with all the computers I've been setting up lately. So it's got a bunch of drivers, maybe ISO images for Windows, stuff like that. Just gives you a nice breakdown. So if you wanted to figure out why your drive was so full. In this case, I know why it is, because I haven't moved the GoPro stuff off yet, and the audio, and I need to do that. But we decided to do this instead because I need these utilities. Okay, well, you have a nice night, Miles. We'll see you next time. Hopefully I stream more often than, once a month or ever, So I'll try to get on here more and more. We'll see you then. All right, now up to the next bullet, we got monitor calibration. I can tell you these aren't changing, so we're not going to even go through them. I got monitor asset manager, monitor info, monitor calibration wizard. You get the ISO monitor test, which is probably the one I use the most. Let's get a closer view here. This thing's great for checking for dead pixels, making sure that it's got proper contrast. You got LUT tester. That will tell you, if I recall, which, make sure your graphics card can support the loading and unloading of LUTs, which is a lookup table. Something to be used with like Mad VR, which is a video renderer, is like a 3D LUT. Most even relatively new graphics cards will be able to do this, but this is just one of those utilities where, you know, for calibration, that sort of stuff. Here's to check if your computer or your monitor is true 10-bit and you have 10-bit output. There's a demo from NEC, since they were one of the first. They make some very high-end professional monitors. You can use that to make sure that see if your monitor is 10-bit, or if you know it is, make sure you're actually outputting it. Identification. We're gonna go download the new AMD auto detect utility. Drivers and support. Now, I keep this old guy right here because there's some systems that are not compatible with the new auto detect utility. And it will still work and link you to the correct downloads. Also, for those interested, I should say, not interesting, I'm using one of the new, and these are fairly rare. Let me bring up, excuse me, that Coke's quite fizzy. This is the Microsoft Pro IntelliMouse. Has not come here from the US yet. I picked 2 of these up. One went to Squares for Christmas present. The other one is in my hand. I have the Singapore edition. I forget which one he has. I had to order them from Taiwan directly to get them because they're not out in the US yet. The US software is, however, updated for them, and they make specific note of it. So I would imagine at CES, they're going to get a proper introduction. The other thing that makes sense is because it supports Xbox lighting, which is based on Razer Chroma, that they're releasing it because of the Xbox One getting mouse and keyboard support. So they're probably timing it for that. So, yeah, I love this shape. Super comfy in my hand. I even bought the IntelliMouse Classic, even when people say, oh, it's not good as a gaming mouse. Well, it's amazing still as a, office mouse. This, though, they finally made it's a proper gaming mouse this time. Not an accidental one. All right, so then we have NVIDIA Inspector, which is not the same as, for those wondering, here is my AMD Radeon folder for checking. I have the auto detect drivers in here. This old one is very vital. It'll check some of those older A6, A8 Bulldozer CPUs, and older graphics cards like that are literally these won't run on there, the newer stuff. The newest one just came out that they redid, which is 18.12. It is actually the 2019 driver, though. Kind of confusing, but grab that if you have an AMD system. Which reminds me, I probably need to update my chipset. Since we have this up, I might as well show you guys. Pro tip: how AMD works. If you have a CPU or graphics card if you have your CPU and chipsets. If you have prior to Ryzen, select anything on their website prior to Ryzen. It's compatible to a certain point. If it's real old, no. But then if it's post Ryzen, like Ryzen 2, Threadripper, like that, grab any of the Ryzen ones and chipset driver will install. For graphics, you mostly want to stick to, if you can select it. If not, if it's Vega based or like RX 480, 580 and Vega, you select any of those in that line, it'll work. And for the older stuff, try to select your exact one. Otherwise, pick a very similar generation. Otherwise, most of the old stuff is also, as long as it's old and you get the old driver for any of the old stuff, it'll install. The auto detect, if for some reason downloading the newest thing doesn't work, you can use some of that. Now I keep that old auto detect because of old systems like laptops I work on that I need to get up and running. So we want chipset driver. Oh, 1026. I'm probably up to date on that. All right. So NVIDIA Profile Inspector. Or this is NVIDIA Inspector. NVIDIA Inspector and NVIDIA Profile Inspector are two different things. This is a key thing. Both are useful. Both are useful differently. So, according to Tech PowerUp, who I do trust for overclocking utilities and stuff like that, 1.9.78 is the newest NVIDIA Inspector. As for Profile Inspector, I think there might be a new version. And you got to be careful when looking up in these two because they're very, very similar names. They have similar uses. NVIDIA Inspector is for older cards. NVIDIA Profile Inspector is what you would want to use for newer cards. One way that you might want to use it is SLI profiles. So, Call of Duty World War II did not come with a SLI profile, even though during the alpha and beta, they stated that they were going to support it. And the engine does support it. If you load the SLI profile for the previous game that they had made, like that Sledgehammer Games, I don't remember if that was, it wasn't Ghosts, it was one after Ghosts, I think. It worked fine. So they could have very well easily added it and tested it, but they didn't bother, which kind of ticked me off because I'm running a 4K screen here. And I've had two 980s. So the difference between one 980 and two 980s was huge in that game. Let me check Twitter here real quick, guys. Let's tweet out that we're still live. All right. Oh, I might have that saved. Hold on here. No, okay. Don't want that. I want clipboard. Oh. All right. Tweet that out again. We'll get some more in a bit here. So NVIDIA Profile Inspector, they're stating 2.13.2, but there's also a 3.3.62. Let's check this out. It might be already in here. Nope. All right. I wonder where the 3.3.62 they're talking about is. Soft P is not always great to download from. If you can avoid, because they got all these fake download buttons and shit. Let's see if it actually downloaded what I want it to. I don't know if that's what I want, because it has both NVIDIA Inspector and NVIDIA Profile Inspector in the same file, which does not seem right. Oh. The fork is maintained better. Here we go. NVIDIA Profile Inspector does indeed have a new version. 2.1.3.19. That is not the newest one. This does have a new one, 3.3.62. Is this what they were talking about? It is. All right. So there is a new one, which is NVIDIA Profile Inspector DMW, which is a dead man walking, it looks like, which is a fork. I will save all of them because gotta maintain compatibility here. We got an underscore 3.3.3.6.2, and we'll download that. And then another thing I will do is I like to choose. I backup, or I will bookmark. So PC repair, we have. I got a tools folder done. I will also bookmark this guy's. Go one release. I should have been doing this as I went, but bookmarking the various tool websites so I don't have to always search for them would be a pro tip, I guess. So extracted that. Let me check this real quick. All right, running that fifth and last benchmark on the first of the 8 terabyte drives. Then I have chip util. I don't recall. There's proc ID. So these are Intel ones. Here we go. Processor identification utility. Latest version is 2014, so I have that. And then there's chipset. The chipset identifier isn't even available anymore. So that's for older stuff here. I keep them though because they're very useful. This is Magic Jelly Bean key finder installer. Quite useful for getting Windows keys and Office keys on older pieces of software. Can also do other software. I believe I still am running. Yep, I'm still running the latest version here. Oh, hey, we got a new Vero. How's it going? Hopefully you gained something interesting out of this, some good knowledge. We're getting to the end here for sure. So we got Rufus. I think I might have updated Rufus since I use it so often. This is what I use to create Windows installation. Yeah, there's 3.4. I have 3.4. I also did keep the older 2.18 since that is the one that's still compatible with XP and Vista. As soon as XP and Vista were not supported anymore by Microsoft, they did drop support. So I did keep that one in case I need to make an installer for that. That's why I always back up all your files. Well, not back up all your files, but like keep your downloads and stuff, because sometimes that stuff does get pulled. And you do need an older utility. This is also why my diagnostic PC can run between XP and 10. Since X58 did have XP support, I need to work on that install of it though. And does support Windows 10. You can even, I mean, there were drivers introduced for it. They're not really updated anymore, but hey, they have them at least. I use that all the time. RW Portable is for editing UEFIs. Can be super easy if you need to, or super nice if you want to yank a product key for Windows out of a UEFI. For some reason, it's not automatically activating or something like that. It's called Read and Write Everything. Super nice utility. And for the reason why you might need this is Windows 8 and 10 computers have their product key in the UEFI, not in the, like down at the bottom of the laptop or something like that. Now, normally you can either, it'll detect those on install when you use the media, or you can just do no product key. On Windows 8, you couldn't do that. You needed a special generic product key to use to get into Windows. And then it would activate once in Windows. But sometimes, excuse me, sometimes it would still not activate with Windows 8. So you would have to pull the product key from the UEFI. And this can be used for that. It looks like we're still running 1.7 as the newest one. So that does not need to be updated, which is good. UBBE is Ultimate BIOS Boot Edition. You can make boot CDs with it, floppy disk, and USB stick, specifically for DOS. Super nice. And probably the most common thing that you watchers here would use that for is sometimes you need to make a DOS bootable flash drive for updating your BIOS. If you have a non-UEFI BIOS, it was pretty common that one of the ways to update your BIOS would be via a like a DOS bootable device. And since nobody has floppy disks anymore, you need to make a USB drive. The other nice thing that's in here is the HP USB disk storage format tool, which is one of the few tools for Windows that lets you format for 32 gigabyte drives FAT32 drives over 32 gigabytes. It is still capped by, I think it's 127 or 137, something like that, gigabytes, which is a certain limitation that was part of hardware for FAT32. Newer stuff can get around it, but at least you can get, like, say if you have a 128 gigabyte flash drive, it'll get you that formatted FAT32. You got to remember, when this tool was made, like a 200 gigabyte external hard drive was huge. So, but even then it would let you at least do more than 32 gigabytes, and you could use it in Windows 7, which is when they implemented that 32 gigabyte limit for FAT32. If you have XP, you can kind of get around that too. But so this is a nice little thing to have. It's got little guides and stuff too. Images, info, yada yada yada. There's a reason why I keep a non-extracted version as well as an extracted version. Reason being is in USB DOS, there's hidden files in here, and sometimes those either won't transfer, or, like, say my Resilio sync that syncs all my tools will not catch them. So I keep a zip file as well because you can't touch the inside of that. Well, it's not a zip, it's a 7-zip file. But there's a unet bootin, which is a nice sort of like Rufus style tool for creating boot drives and other stuff like that. I'd say it's best for Linux compared to Rufus. It is what I used prior to Rufus existing. 661 is newer. But now that Rufus exists, like, not that this is useful, but I have used it in the past, so I might as well keep it and keep it maintained and keep it updated. But I would probably try Rufus before I would try this, and then I would try this, and then we'd go to UBBE. Kind of like just tiers of utilities. And it's always good to have a backup. All right, so here's another folder that I use all the time. And that's because when I repair computers, people usually bring it with an expired or multiple expired versions of their least favorite antivirus. Or they never took off the trials that came with their computer. So I have a folder of basically every single antivirus removal tool. Vast, AVG, Bitdefender, ESET, Kaspersky, Malwarebytes. This is also good when your Malwarebytes isn't working properly. McAfee, Norton, which by the way there is no longer a removal tool for Norton. There is just Norton remove and reinstall. You can use it just to remove though. And then Trend Micro, which is a pain in the butt to remove even with their removal tool. Another common one is WebRoot. They no longer make their removal tool. So as a tip, make sure you disable protection before you try and uninstall it. Otherwise, it will forever be on there and be a complete pain in the butt. So yeah, I guess pro tip there. I personally use Bitdefender because it's the highest rated and I needed to renew it. Also, ESET was causing me issues with certain things. Like it would block things that needed to go through, which was not okay in my opinion. Oh, we're looking at 20 gigs left, guys. All right. Let's look up Avast. And the easiest way to find these, even if you don't keep a folder like this, is Avast. Oh, look. I already have been here recently. Would you look at that? And we're going to add that to tools. Avast Clear. Once again, they don't name it properly. I have Avast Clear as 18.6.3983. In the downloads folder, one I just got is 18.8.4080. I wish I could copy and paste that. I really do. I said 18.8.4.0. All right, and always keep these updated because otherwise you'll try and use it on a new version. It may run. There's a decent chance you'll break it. And broken antiviruses are one of the things that will slow down your system the most because it checks every single file that is running if you have real-time protection on. And you can see some of these are in my history because I purposely never delete my history so that it's kind of like my email. I save every single email. Not every single one, but anything that matters. So I can find stuff like this so I don't have to keep digging around. And then I should have been bookmarking these from the beginning, but now that I am, I should even have to look a little less hard to find them all. Oh, we got a couple more viewers in here. How's it going, guys? You guys, how's your new year going? That's actually why I got the free time today, is because got off work early since it's the new year. They closed early, so it means I get off work early. Did they change their naming scheme? So AVG and Avast are actually now the same company. For those that didn't know, I forget which one bought the other one. But it's looking like I looked at this. This is named differently, right? The AVG is now named AVG Clear instead of AVG Remover, 18.8.4080. If we go to AVG now, it is also 18.8.4084. So that's the same versioning, very similar name. It seems like AVG and Avast might have finally merged. And being that it seems like Avast stayed the same, I have a feeling that AVG is what lost it. So we're still going to keep the AVG remover. We'll make a folder in here called old. Because this is the newest version of their old remover. And if you have that older version, you're going to need it. Because I'm guessing, maybe I'm wrong, but more than likely that AVG Clear is only going to be the newer AVG versions that are based on Avast. The other thing that also means is that the free antiviruses, or the big free antiviruses, are all the same now. So I also personally would not recommend running a free antivirus. If you're careful, Windows Defender is enough. Maybe run mbam manually if you're worried. Otherwise, run a paid one. There are many advantages to running paid antiviruses, especially on people's computers that maybe aren't experienced as you. Alright, so there's a 2019 uninstall tool for Bitdefender. I have everything else, so we'll just add that one. ESET. Oh, we should bookmark this page. Back. Bookmark. Tools. Okay. All right. Let's get this moving. By the way, this will probably be... I'll kind of go through the other stuff that's in here, but we don't really need Flash. Bam. Oh, here's a nice thing about ESET that's pretty dope. They actually have a support page for removal tools for other antiviruses, for common antiviruses. Awesome. And they actually have a removal tool for removing other antiviruses, which I will save. ESET universe. Now let's call it ESET Universal. Because what this is it is a removal tool that supposedly can remove any of the antiviruses. 10.7.33.0 underscore 10.7.33. Not the best with the number row touch typing. But we'll hold on to that because sometimes it's a pain in the butt. I might try that on a computer that I know I don't care about breaking with WebRoot to see if it can remove WebRoot, which would be awesome. Though as long as you uninstall WebRoot properly, where you disable it first and then just normally uninstall it, it's fine. Oh yeah, let's tweet out. There we go. We retweet it with text here. All right. All right, let's check out the ESET uninstaller here and see what version we have. We have 10.3.151.0, so it's the same. I didn't think they would have changed that. Kaspersky. Bookmark this. Bookmark. Oh, nope. All right. Oh, we already got that bookmarked. All right. Oh, that's. There we go. Oh, that's the wrong one. So we want Kaspersky remote tool. We'll see if that's newer as well. This part's a bit boring. So if you get any of you guys watching have any questions, I can answer those as I'm kind of going through here. This is 1.0.329. Oh, 2's up there. And these are, like I said, these in my line of work of piece repair, super duper useful. Obviously, we have one that we recommend that we get kickbacks on. But I mean, obviously, if they have a active subscription, we're not going to get rid of it. But sometimes people will just have, like I've run into people still running 2012 and 2015 versions of antiviruses, and it's crazy. And they did actually. Antiviruses did get updated for Meltdown inspectors, so you got to make sure you're running a new enough one for that. Heck, and they were even updated back for Windows 10, so they'll have a Windows 7 PC that's on Windows 10 that never had an antivirus updated for Windows 10, much less for Meltdown inspector, and it's just a shit show. So you just clean it all out and start over. So they don't just have MB clean anymore. it looks like. So I will keep the one I have. They have this weird Malwarebytes support tool. There we go. 2.3.1. Okay, there is a slightly newer one. But it looks like they don't want you to use mbam clean anymore. They want you to use this MB support. So we will pop the old one in the old folder. It's still there because I know it works. Maybe not on the newest version though. McAfee. This one's always fun to find because if you notice on a lot of these websites, you can kind of see what I'm clicking on. They bury the links to remove their antiviruses. They don't want you to remove it. I mean, they provide the tools, but they definitely try and hide the location of even the download. Like you'll go and pay it in the page, and somebody like, where the heck did they put it? Like this whole thing right here. It's like there's a tiny link right here. They should just have a giant download removal tool button, but that would make it far too easy to remove. Once again, I don't name the dang file, so I have to go into properties. And okay, we were running 10.2.248. We're on 256. So it's a little bit newer. And this is more just because we would need to be able to remove the newest version. Since that's one thing, like they won't ship computers with updated operating systems. They won't ship them with updated graphics drivers, updated chipset drivers. In some cases, I saw a bunch of Lenovo Ryzen 5s laptops that came without chipset drivers installed on it. You'd go to install the Ryzen chipset driver, double click, it'd be currently installed, blank, nothing. Oh, no wonder they're having issues. It's like, duh. Like, geez. But, of course, they always have the latest and most up-to-date McAfee, you know? I mean, Intel does own McAfee now, so. Norton removal tool. All right. Control J key. Oh, for those wondering, Control J opens up downloads. Don't know why they have a shortcut for that necessarily. You can just open up Windows E. Oh, in your browser, it's Control J. I'm like, yeah, Windows doesn't have a shortcut to downloads. Windows E is the shortcut to open up Explorer. Very useful. 4.5.0.41. Geez. So it's 5 and 4.1. All right. 4.5.4.1. We'll delete this guy then. Paste that in there. Trend Micro. I really don't even want to mess with Trend Micro. There's stuff like it's like you have to install a support tool to be able to run the removal tool. We're not messing with that. All right, let me check my storage on my external SSD because we're less than 10 gigs. I'm gonna have to wrap this up tonight. So yeah, we're getting pretty full here. I'm gonna quick fly through my other stuff here because we're getting real close to full on this drive, and I'm not gonna download. I'll show you what I use. Most of this other stuff is not does not need to be updated. because of the type of stuff it is. Okay, so let's pop over to the close-up view here. So program installers, Flash, whatever, that's not up to date, but you shouldn't be installing Flash anyway. Visual C++, most of my systems, personal ones, and ones I set up for other people, I'll install all of those on. Has every version. It's important. There might be a newer one now. I think 2017's newest one though. .NET 3.5. It won't download using this, but it'll trigger the download for Windows 10. DirectX 9 install. You're gonna want that. A lot of games still run DX9. This QuickBooks 2010 trial I use a lot for working on QuickBooks for people. Ooh, I didn't realize my mouse pad was so sharp. Lip. And sometimes you need to install the 2010 version. Then you can import, and then you can convert like a really old one, like 2006. Then you can import that into a like 2012 to 2015 version, and then get it on like a 2017. Because 2017 and newer, I believe, are the supported ones. But they cannot import anything older than 2010, if I recall correctly. This has seen a lot of use though. This Windows Live setup, I still have it. It's not going to work. The servers aren't up for Windows Live Essentials anymore, but I have it here just in case. Benchmarks, kind of went over this before. We have the various Cinebenches, the Final Fantasy before and after DLSS, which is ray tracing technology. I don't have 1.0. 1.0 was broken. I think I do have it stored someplace, but it's not in this folder. We got UniEngine Heaven, Superposition, Valley. Those are all very common ones. Superposition is if you're doing a newer game, that's what you're going to want to use. I do have Sanctuary and Tropics, which are their older ones. They're tiny comparison-wise, though. So it's not a huge thing. Windows stuff, we got how to, like, quick reg edits for disabling hibernation. I made a PDF on how to disable sleep in Windows 8 and newer. You need to have a Pro version of Windows, and you use group policy. Disabling Windows Defender does not work in Windows 10 anymore. It's still in here just in case, I guess. Arrow Light theme, that was a way to get a non-graphically intensive arrow in Windows 8. I actually think it looked better because it was way more bold and not transparent. I think it was easier and it ran better on the system. Spybot Anti-Beacon, I really don't use anymore. I said it doesn't work, but I did use it, so it's still in here. Update fixes for 7 and 8.1. What these are is there are a number of updates for 7 and 8.1 where if you do not install them first, your Windows update will break the first time it updates. Super, super duper annoying. But I have all of those updates downloaded as well as at least somewhat recent cumulative update. So we don't have to do hundreds, like say Windows 7 will have 250 plus updates if you don't do this, and it will break. Whereas if you do this and run cumulative, you'll have sub 50 left. Same thing with Windows 8.1. We have the Windows X menu editor. Just recently found out about that. I will be making a video. Windows X would be, you press Windows and X key, or you right click the start icon in 8 and 10. I can now edit that with this. It was tricky to find, but I've been thinking about that since Windows 10 launched, and it took away network from the or was it 8 that took away network? I think 8 didn't have network. 10 brought it back. You can have it in the start menu now. But 10 did remove control panel from Windows X because they're trying to use settings instead, which means I have to have a shortcut, and it's always been in that menu. So I like being able to edit it. Windows 10 transparent taskbar is awesome. I think Windows 10 should ship with a transparent taskbar. So that's a very small, light utility that turns a taskbar transparent. Super simple. Classic orange and black Zune desktop theme for Windows XP. If I have to use Windows XP, I'm using that theme. Otherwise, I'm not using Windows XP. And then here's commands for uninstalling the default apps from Windows 10. I wouldn't really recommend that anymore unless you know for sure you're never going to need the App Store or any other Microsoft apps besides Windows, because it'll just break things, and half the time they'll reinstall them anyway. Then we have some USB LAN drivers. I have a bunch of various USB LAN adapters for laptops that either don't have a LAN port for doing updates and repairs and stuff like that, or if they have a broken one or it's not working due to software. I got all their drivers in here just in case. We got a couple Mac cleanup tools. There are very, very few of those left. Onyx is one. Malwarebytes for Mac is one. There's not too much else out there, really. And they do get viruses. For Macs, it was just shown, if you watch Level 1 Techs, they just had a news article about how Apple was not reporting malware to the antivirus and malware creators. Like InfoSec people would find computers that were infected, but then they were never like, why isn't our antivirus catching this? If it's a known infection, well, there were never any definitions made. And then when they contact the antivirus companies, that's because they were never told about existing infections. So that's always fun. Well, guys, my drive is pretty much full here, so I have 6 gigs left. That's not great for an SSD. And we'll see you in the next one. As always, you can find me as at TheProfosist on Twitter. And the website / channel as at Tech Exchange The. My website is the-tech-exchange.com. And the easiest way, if you want to get to Twitch, is just text.cx/Twitch or text.slash/YouTube. You can also use home if you want to get to the website as well. If you enjoyed this stream, please share it out. It'll be up on YouTube shortly. And we'll see you in the next one. I hope to stream more often in the new year.